Well, good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the last daily episode of Ask the Expert on our 2-year anniversary, nonetheless. My name is Aaron Patrick, Head of Accounts here at Boffix, that QuickBooks chap on the internet, and a resident expert of the show. Today, we'll be doing things a little bit differently. We'll be taking a look back and inviting fellow experts on the show to share their memories and celebrate the show's success. But if you need advice with your business, don't forget to join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group, which on Facebook, which has got accountants just like myself and other business experts on hand 24/7. So let's start the show and take a look back at where it all started. Ask the Expert was launched 2 years ago today in response to the major disruption, the pandemic, and the restrictions caused on small business owners across the UK. The show's purpose was to provide reliable and credible advice from real experts, cutting through misinformation during the pandemic, with the main aim to help owners and budding entrepreneurs navigate those unprecedented times. During the launch of the show, the businesses were shutting down and people were being laid off or even furloughed. And everyone was worrying about their personal health and the world around them. Those who thought they'd lose everything didn't know where to turn for trustworthy guidance. But then in response, we started this very show. I'll always remember that first text I received about the format, finding about this crazy idea of a daily morning show built with small businesses in mind. Then, after the first round of government announcements, Intuit saw the confusion around the small businesses and they rallied to get the pilot episode off the ground less than 24 hours later. It was a huge but worthwhile task. I went live on air to explain what we knew about furlough and answer much needed questions. The show was an instant hit, providing easy to understand, bite-sized information and a format to make sure you had a place to ask an expert. Since then, we've been looking back, since then, I've hosted over 40 shows on many a topic, from analysing the latest government announcements to the latest QuickBooks product announcements. We made sure we had experts available to help small businesses and a platform and a community each and every weekday morning to help those businesses feel supported. Today, the world is starting to get back to business as usual, with many of those same businesses now not just surviving, but thriving, thanks in part to this very show. The QuickBooks team are incredibly proud of everything Ask the Expert has achieved. No less than 17 awards, an eye-watering 445 shows, and over 90 guests covering a wealth of topics. But as the times change, so will Ask the Expert. We're saying goodbye to the daily live streams, but don't fret, Ask the Expert will continue in a new format. Monthly panels on topics that matter to you, still giving you important information on a platform to ask and answer all your questions. Look out for the first one in April. I got a little sneak peek and trust me, it's going to be amazing. Now, on to the first panel and let's bring on our first guests. Joining us now is Anne-Marie from Diddi Dance, Tommie and Rebecca from BambuuBrush, and Helen from Compass of Therapy. Now, let's go one-on-one and let's ask the experts to tell us a little bit about their businesses and what they've covered on Ask the Expert. Anne-Marie, would you like to start?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm Anne-Marie Martin and my company is Diddi Dance. So we run toddler dance classes across the UK and it's a franchised business. So during my time on Ask the Expert, I've discussed franchising and a lot about the misconceptions around it, but also about using different platforms on social media to promote your business, especially TikTok.
Yeah, and it's been some brilliant content that you've been providing. Tommie, do you want to give us a little breakdown of what you've gone through?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, so I'm Tommie, founder of BambuuBrush. We're a sustainably focused, mission-driven business. We have a range of sustainable products to combat plastic waste and plastic pollution. And then our products fund our social impact projects that we run globally. So we run community-run educational workshops in schools, and we have a social impact project out in Ghana. So my time on Ask the Expert was mainly focused around sustainability, but more specifically around how small businesses can get into the conversation around sustainability and what they can do to make that first step on the ladder.
Yeah, it's really inspirational as well how you've been able to grow during this pandemic as well. Helen, do you want to give us a breakdown of what you've been up to?
Sure. So my business is Compass Therapy, and I provide psychological therapy to adults, mainly with using evidence-based tools like cognitive behavioural therapy. I'm also the clinical director of a new mental health app called OK Positive. So that's been keeping me busy over the course of the pandemic. And things I covered on Ask the Expert, I think it was great to be invited onto this more of a business platform to talk about mental health. Because we were all kind of feeling it in the pandemic. So I covered things like stepping out of your comfort zone and creating comfort in a crisis, and mindfully approaching the tax season. And there were loads of really good questions, and it was very clear to see that the community out there was struggling with mental health. So it was great to be able to offer some support at that time.
Yeah, I think I speak on behalf of the whole community. You came at the perfect time. You know, we were really needing that opportunity to have that talk about mental health.
Yeah.
So let's start and talk about some of the big questions we've got for our panelists today. So we're going to go with, how have you found Ask the Expert, and what has been the highlight for you? We're going to go in reverse order. So back to you, Helen. What was your highlight of Ask the Expert?
So I think overall, I mean, the whole thing for me was just a highlight. I think the team at QuickBooks Intuit did a great job of bringing people together when everything was so unpredictable, and people like me struggling with our small business, not knowing where to stand. And so just hearing all these tips and just knowing that there was a community out there to support was just it was of such value. I can't really tell the team how great it was. But my personal highlight was seeing Esther Stanhope's Ask the Expert, and then connecting with her, because I was really struggling to move online. It's not something I'm comfortable with. So that was my personal highlight.
Yeah, she was absolutely brilliant, wasn't she? Tommie,
Yeah.
what was your best highlight from Ask the Expert?
So, my favorite highlight was obviously doing these shows, which was incredible, and working with the team. But then the next part of that was last year in Glasgow, there was COP26, which was the global summit around sustainability. Intuit QuickBooks were part of a number of the initiatives with that, and then from that, at BambuuBrush, myself and Rebecca were invited to a number of events up there, and obviously that's kind of like the top of where we want to be to create these policies and create these strategies around getting people involved in the conversation. But then I spoke with, we were invited on a panel show in the blue zone of COP26, which is kind of pretty special. And I spoke with the head of sustainability for Intuit, who was on a panel with me around how can we get small businesses in the conversation around sustainability. And that's where the SME Climate Hub, I guess, was launched in some respects, which is a little gentle plug, but it's a great way. It's a great platform to get people involved in the conversation, make it simple for small business owners that they do have a part to play in this, and there's so much impact that can be created. So yeah, that was my highlight for sure.
Wow, that's amazing. That's probably the legacy of what Ask the Expert is all about. So, Anne-Marie, do you want to give your highlight of Ask the Expert?
Yeah, well, there was quite a lot, having appeared on the show quite a few times with lots of various different subjects. I think for me, because there are so many misconceptions about franchising, especially in the UK, because it can mean lots of different things globally. I think it was being able to talk about it, celebrate it, and actually try and shed a few of those myths about what franchising is and the differences between that and other ways to scale your business, was probably the highlight for me. I always love talking about my social media work as well, on TikTok, but I think really talking about franchising it as a positive impact, because you're giving people their own local business to run in their own community. I think that was definitely the highlight for me.
Yeah, and it was a good time as well, wasn't it? During the pandemic, giving people opportunities to go out there. It was a fantastic time to bring it in. Okay, let's go to our next burning question then. So what's the best advice you've given or seen on Ask the Expert that will be useful for business owners in the future? Anne-Marie, back to you again.
Well, I think there's a couple. One thing that I do tend to always talk about when I'm giving advice to business owners that are just starting up, or they want to go into franchising to scale up their business, is your trademarking. I think that's really important. A lot of people go into starting a business, come up with a name, do a quick Google search, and then they've launched lots of money and funding into this business, and all of a sudden somebody who actually owns that trademark is hot on their heels to close down that name. So I would say go to the trademark register on the Gov website and do your homework about the name before you plough loads of money into that business, and just check that nobody owns it first.
That's really important advice, and I think that's going to save a lot of businesses out there. Tommie, what about yourself?
My favourite bit of advice, I'm going to talk about sustainability again, but I think as we move through the years, in the next couple of 5-10 years, sustainability is going to be an integral part of every aspect of our lives. And I think as small businesses, I'm speaking as someone who's extremely passionate about sustainability, but for a small business, it's kind of lower down in the order of what we need to do. So it's we need to understand that there is a real benefit to engage not only your customers but also your employees in the conversation, and then look at ways in which you can integrate the community that you work with, your external community, in sustainability. Customers will need companies to be sustainable in the future, so it is businesses' role there as small businesses to get your community involved in that conversation. So I think just the best piece of advice is the SME Climate Hub. Increase your level of knowledge. Doesn't take too much time, and then increase your employees' level of knowledge, because as we move forward, there's going to start to become legislation and everything that comes in. If we can be at the forefront of the charge, there's a lot of impact that can be made.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's a worthwhile plug, isn't it, to make sure that people know about that platform. Helen, what about yourself?
Well, I think it's all too easy when we're working, particularly in small businesses, we work in isolation. And I think it's often easy to forget that we are part of something bigger, that our community is there to support us. And, we're all human beings and we all experience emotion, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. And it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to reach out and ask for help, because help is always there. And I think that's what's really highlighted in the work that's been done here, the questions that popped up. So always ask for help and never feel that anything's ridiculous, and just look after yourself. Be aware of your well-being, be aware of how you're responding to the world round about you, and just know that it's okay not to be okay. We don't all live the Instagram happy lives. That's just not it's the whole wealth of emotions out there to experience.
Yeah, I think that's such important advice. And I know that's the sort of advice you've been giving each and every morning that you've been on. So really do thank you for that. Okay, it's been absolutely amazing chatting with all of you. But let's now look at bringing on some other familiar faces. A massive part of Ask the Expert is, of course, the accountants who help translate complex information into language we can all understand. To tell us more, we have Eriona from Major Accountants, Johann from OnPoint Accounting, and Judith from MHA Moore Smalley. Welcome. As before, let's ask the expert for a quick intro from each of you. Over to you, Eriona.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Eriona Bajrakurtaj. I'm the Managing Director of Majors Accounts, which is an accountancy firm based in Southeast London. We are very digitally driven, using an array of apps to help our clients, with a focus on regular contact and support with our clients to equip them with the right information in real time to help them make well-informed decisions. During my many shows on Ask the Expert, I've been lucky enough to speak about so many different topics. Obviously furlough, which was a massive one during COVID, but also which grants and supports are available to small businesses, how to plan for cash flow, even how accountants can work closely with their clients, and even which paths to take into accountancy. So very varied.
Amazing, and definitely been giving out some great advice over the 2 years. Johann, do you want to give a breakdown for yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, Johann from the OnPoint Accounting Group. We look after small and startup businesses. We've got offices mainly in Scotland. So yeah, it's been quite a 2 years, hasn't it? And I think I've lost count how many times I've done Ask the Expert, and even more so how many times I've said pivot. Pivot has been the word of the series, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. And we can't forget Judith. Judith, you want to give a breakdown of yourself?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Judith Dugdale. I'm Head of Digital Solutions at MHA Moore Smalley. So we're a large firm of chartered accountants based in the northwest of England. So as a firm, we cover all different areas of accounting and different services that link in. Myself, I head up a team, and we just deal with people that use cloud accounting software. We've worked with Intuit for probably 7 years now, an elite supplier, and do lots of setup support. So Ask the Expert was really, really interesting for us to get involved with. And a bit like Johann said, I can't actually remember how many sessions we've done. But yeah, furlough was a nice thing that we all accountants, we had exactly the same amount of information as the general public, but somehow had to then decipher it and give lots and lots of information to all different types of businesses. So yeah, it was challenging, shall we say.
At least you pronounced it correctly. On my first Ask the Expert, I was pronouncing it furlong. So yeah, you're wonderful on that one. Okay, let's go with how have you found Ask the Expert, and what has been your highlight for you? Judith, do you want to kick us off with that one?
I think my highlight has been to actually re-engage with people. So working at a firm like myself, I do an awful lot of reviewing of information. So I have a team of people that are speaking to clients on the phone and obviously now video conferencing and things like that. And I was getting out probably less, and particularly during COVID, it was all on Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So Ask the Expert allowed you to meet a wide range of businesses all at the same time. And the highlight was just the amount of questions and the different type of questions we got, and actually being able to help people. That's what we all got into the industry for, was to help small businesses, and being able to get in front of so many of those small businesses. It was really nice to actually be able to help people.
Yeah, it's really been the perfect platform to help small business, hasn't it? Johann, what about yourself? What's been your highlight from Ask the Expert?
I think it's like Judith, it's taken me back to my roots. The reason I got into the industry and I set up my own firm was to help my friends that had small businesses and couldn't get the time of day from, shall we say, old school accountants. And the bit I always loved, and I still love, is the meeting people and answering all the random questions that they come up with. That for us, we think, oh, that's common sense. But actually, for a business owner, this is a whole new world, and a whole new world of vocabulary in a lot of cases. So I think, yeah, taking me back to my roots and giving me the chance to talk to more small businesses has definitely been the biggest highlight. And just the fact that I feel like I've given back at a time when small businesses needed us to give a bit of goodwill and a bit of help when they were struggling was the main thing for us.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And those questions we've had have been absolutely brilliant, haven't they? Eriona, what about you? What's been your highlight for Ask the Expert?
To be honest, we were on this to help small businesses, right? But actually, with the amount of questions that were asked and how varied they were, I've actually found that it helped us as a practice, because those questions I was able to take and translate into my practice with my client base as well. And because there may be questions that our clients may have been thinking but maybe haven't asked us. So it was great to be slightly more proactive and just highlight a few things to our clients. So that was great. But the other kind of great thing that I noticed is I had one question once of an accountant who was actually in the same position as we were as a firm a few years ago, trying to go digital, and they found some difficulties with getting their clients on board. But what resonated with me was the fact that actually we all have the exact same issues. We're not alone. So this kind of showed that by talking to each other, we can learn so much from each other and not be as worried, as when you're alone.
Yeah, I remember that very show, and I remember you giving some great advice to that fellow accountant. So sticking with you, Eriona, let's go for the next question. What's the best advice you've been given or seen on Ask the Expert that will be useful for business owners in the future?
To be honest, what's really, I guess, become more prevalent during the last 2 years is ensuring business owners have a change mindset and never being comfortable with current processes in your business. So you have to be dynamic and, as we've mentioned before, be ready to pivot, because although we may not have a pandemic again in the future, businesses are changing rapidly, sometimes on a daily basis. So being ready for those changes and having that change mindset, I think, is super important to kind of help businesses succeed in the long term.
Definitely, and it's been good for us, hasn't it, as the experts, to see the progression of the questions and see how our communities, you know, as you said, dynamic and been pivoted over this time. Johann, what about yourself? What's the best advice you've given or seen on Ask the Expert?
It's been over such a broad topic. It's been everything from COVID through to furlough, through to loans, through to how do I set up and register a business? Should I be a sole trader and limited? I think the main thing it's highlighted is for business owners that is this information available quite freely on the internet, from shows where people like ourselves will sit there and tell you, answer your questions, etc. There's YouTube channels, Facebook groups. There's so much information out there that used to be locked behind a door. And I think the highlighting that this information's out there is key. And just for everyone to keep learning, spend time watching YouTube channels, listening to podcasts and stuff like that, just to help them understand and grow their own knowledge base.
Yeah, completely. And it's amazing how much we as the experts have learned from this, isn't it? And been able to give that to our own clients and be able to progress ourselves as well. Judith, what about yourself? What has been the best advice you've had from Ask the Expert?
I think the best advice, and Ask the Expert really promoted this, is to get an expert in when you need one. Make sure you don't try to do everything yourself. Entrepreneurs are absolutely amazing, and the things that people do to get their businesses off the ground and going into, I don't know, looking at social media or whatever it might be, everybody's got their own skill sets, and I think it's having the awareness that what is your weakness and making sure bringing the experts to help you with those areas. I think for me it's get that advice, and in particular it's getting the right advice from experts like ourselves, and trying not to do everything by yourself, because you can get things in a bit of a mess and then it can be hard work and expensive to try and correct those issues later. So yeah, I think we all work to our strengths and spend the time in our business doing what we do best, and get other people in to help with, get people in to help with the bits that we're not experts at.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, the amount of things that have changed over this past year, 2 years, you need that expert advice, don't you, to be able to make the most of it. Yeah. I've got one more question for each of you then. So look into the future. What one piece of practical advice do you have for budding entrepreneurs in the current business landscape? Johann, I'm going to jump on you first.
As I said a minute ago, just keep learning. There's so much information out there, like podcasts, YouTube channels. You know, Aaron, you've got a fantastic QuickBooks YouTube channel where lots of people are going and learning how to use the product. There's some fantastic entrepreneurial podcasts out there. There's some fantastic email marketing podcasts, accounting podcasts. Just keep learning. Utilize your time. If you're walking the dog, put a podcast on. Keep learning.
Yeah, couldn't say it better myself. And Ask the Expert as well, that's going to be back and bigger than ever before. Eriona, what about yourself? What one piece of advice would you give?
I would definitely say speak to your accountant if you have any kind of queries, because you don't know how much your accountant can help. And I see this myself in practice. There are things that we can help with that our clients are not sure about, or if we can't, generally in our network we may be able to find someone who can help. So don't feel like you're alone, and seek that help whenever you need it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Eriona. And Judith, if you are there, have you got a piece of advice?
Hi, yes, sorry, I exited then somehow. I think just like the others have said, it's the learning bit. It's keeping engaged with everything that's happening, up to date with new technologies. I mean, it's been
for us, as a massive learning curve for us the last 2 years. Suddenly, we all had to go home, and we had to deliver the same service to our clients from we have staff working in the bedrooms. It really tough, but we learned, and I think that then transferred into every business had to do exactly the same thing. We had to, like Johann said, pivot, go online where they maybe haven't been selling online before. So yeah, just keep an open mind, and being open to change.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the fact that we as accountants and experts had to change gave us a good platform, didn't it, for actually talking to our clients and being able to reassure them that if we can change, then they can too. So yeah, it's been a great learning curve for us all. Okay, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with all the experts on the panels today. And I'm sure you'll agree that the answers they've just gave prove that we have access to the best experts around. Thanks for all my guests being part of the show and also for the last 2 years. As we only have 30 minutes of the time this morning, there are plenty of other experts who we just couldn't fit into the show, but we wanted to make sure they got to say a few words too. So please roll that BT.
I've been involved with Intuit QuickBooks and Ask the Expert right from the early days of lockdown in March 2020. And it was a time where businesses from a communications perspective really had never faced anything like this before. So being able to speak to people live, speak to a community, answer questions, it helped me as well as helping others.
Wow, my most memorable moment on Ask the Expert has to be one of my first episodes that I filmed. It was the 100th episode that I was asked to do, and I was sent a whole load of balloons and had to set up everything here.
First time I went live on air, and I could hear them saying, you're going to be going live in a few moments. We'll let you know when we're rolling the credits, and then we'll say you're live, and that's when you say hello. I just remember, even though I'm an expert, I've worked at the BBC, I help people to speak on camera, I'm used to this stuff. But for some reason, my heart just went, and I almost couldn't say hello. I just remember thinking,
Love the authenticity of the community questions and the ability to make an impact with those, and the welcomes back from people who recognise you when you come back.
Helping a lot of the small businesses and making them aware of the tax challenges, the business challenges, and other areas that they could benefit from, learning and asking the right people to get the right consultancy and the vision to run their business forward.
It's forced me to up my game with my equipment, my recording, and where I actually position myself when I'm doing these Ask the Expert morning shows. When I started, I thought I had quite good equipment, I thought it looked good, but you'll see, and I've certainly seen it over the years as it's been running, just how much it forces you to up your game.
Big well done to everybody who's been involved in such a major undertaking. I've loved every minute of it, especially all of the questions that have been fired at me. People have continually challenged me with different questions about well-being, and I will miss it.
I really loved working with such an incredibly impactful and dynamic team. The Ask the Expert team are a class apart, really thoughtful, really concerned to get quality advice out there.
What Intuit QuickBooks have done is created a really valuable resource for helping small businesses answer the questions that are on their mind at a time when they needed answers more than ever.
It's been amazing. Thanks to all behind the scenes at Ask the Expert, and thank you to you guys, the audiences. I hope the sessions have been motivational, inspirational, and educational for you.
I'm super proud to have been a small part of such a successful and impactful campaign. Massive congratulations to the Ask the Expert team. You guys rock.
Wow, what an impactful look back at the last 2 years. And with that, we say goodbye for now. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Ask the Expert will be back in the new format later in the month. Again, trust me, it's going to be brilliant. So make sure you're following at QuickBooks UK across social media to find out more. And if you are a business owner and need of any further advice, make sure you join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants, business experts, and all the experts we've shown today will be on hand for 24/7 advice. We're really proud to have helped so many businesses not just survive, but thrive. Now for a big thank you to all of the production team at QuickBooks, all the experts who appeared on the show. Thank you to the team who put the show on for us each and every morning, weekday morning. And most of all, a big thank you to you and everyone who watched either live or on demand. And thank you for each one of your questions you've asked over the 2 years. So from all of us, a massive thank you for the support over the last 2 years. My name is Aaron Patrick. Have a fantastic and productive day from all the experts over the last 2 years. It's a goodbye for now.